welcome to the Carlisle Cult Cinema Club presents Mike Mendez. Mike has 141 IMDb credits, 48 as an editor, 31 as a self-talking head, etc., 16 as an actor, 13 as a producer, 13 thanks tos, 7 as a writer, and some miscellaneous as well, probably loads more uncredited. You'll know him from directing Killers, The Convent, Grave Dancers, Big Ass Spider, a segment in Tales of Halloween, Friday the 31st, La Valantula, Don't Kill It, and Satanic Hispanics. He's an all-round top bloke. Welcome to the show, Mike Mendez.
Happy to be here. Yes, totally. I feel like I've traveled somewhere because of the accent and everything. I feel like I've gone on a journey. And I feel very welcome, like I just landed. So here we
Well,
are,
you're welcome to.
which is universal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to basically go through your directing career and a little bit what you've written.
Okay.
Just, you know what I mean? So Killers, your first film, how hard was it to get, so especially something so violent, off the ground?
Well, weirdly, there's a lot, and I still hold this to this day, that there's a lot of freedom when you have no money. When you have no money, there's no one to tell you can't do that. And so we had a little bit of money, thankfully. The co-writer and star of the movie, and the now late Dave Larson, was able to have a little stockpile of money that we could use or whatever. But essentially, it was as guerrilla as you can get. It was our parents' home. We were kids. We were 22. Our parents' homes or friends, whatever a 22-year-old with no connections has access to. The difference is it was a long time ago, so it was shot on film. So I guess that added a little bit of expense and things of it. But we were essentially just kids running around with shotguns and blanks, and just having a great time. It's a miracle we didn't end up in jail. The police were called on us many times, but it was surprising that even us shooting guns, quite irresponsibly, they didn't shut us down. So that was nice. So
And a great opening song as well.
thank you. Well, that originally, and this is a problem I kind of like continuously, and I do it to myself. I have no one else to blame. Is that I'll kind of fall in love with the song and kind of cut to that song. So the first time I ran into this trouble was in Killers, where the first opening scene should actually go to the Doors, The End. That's what it's cut to. But when we finished the movie, and even though it got into Sundance and stuff like that, the Doors wanted nothing to do with it. It was too expensive. We couldn't afford it. So they kind of slapped Inagata Devita in there, which works fine.
Yeah.
But you kind of wish, I kind of wish that it was actually cut to the movie. But it's a live and learn kind of thing, and something now, not a learn kind of thing, because it literally also happened to me in my last movie, Satanic Hispanics. There was a song at the very end that I wanted. I wanted a Spanish version of How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. And so I cut the thing and I was very happy with it. And then, of course, we couldn't get the Smiths song. They wouldn't even reply. We wouldn't even get a response. So I have some kind of sound alike at the end, but it just, it kind of kills the whole
Oh,
thing.
that's a shame because
Yeah, sometimes it works out. In the case of The Convent, that was cut to the Leslie Gore "You Don't Own Me," and miraculously, just by a weird loophole, that in the 60s and the 70s, they had these things called K-Tel records, and K-Tel records would kind of like do their own assembly of versions of popular songs, and the artist would record one for those albums, and so the K-Tel version album of it was available, not the original song, but but it was still her, and it was still basically the same orchestration, so it was fine. It was totally worked out. So and Big Ass Spider, I did it with Where Is My Mind at the beginning, and another one I'm very surprised, but we actually got that one. So it's a hit and miss. I always have a certain song in mind, and I always cut it to that. But I don't always get the song, and it's always a little heartbreaking. So yeah. So back to Inagata Devita. lovely song, not what's supposed to be there. It's kind of like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and the Wizard of Oz. If you start the end at a certain point, it'll line up and be in sync. But I don't recommend doing that. That's too much effort.
I don't recommend you do that. Hey, I'll try it because I do like a bit of Dark Side of Oz, as they call it, now and
Right,
again
right,
when
right,
I've had a
right.
few smokes. It's got to be done, hasn't it? Um,
Absolutely.
and then the fake advert, toy advert in it is superb. That made me laugh so much.
Yeah, I mean, again, you said you were a collector as well, so I think that's just, that collector part of me. I mean, there's a couple things. Obviously, the movie's a bit of a commentary on the celebrity nature of the way serial
Yeah,
killers were back then, of the Menendez case and O.J. Simpson, and natural born killers was a thing, and we all love Tarantino movies. I mean, we still do, but especially back then. So there was that kind of like pop celebrity kind of thing. So I thought a toy commercial would be fun, and it would be a fun way, and it has very little, very limited stop motion animation in there, but I love stop motion animation or animation in general. So it was a nice way to kind of get a few things that I love just in there. That movie's a very much a combination between the writer star of it, Dave Larson, and myself, and it's probably the reason why it kind of clicked with people, because it's just so fucking weird, because I couldn't do it myself by there. It's two different forces kind of almost battling each other, to kind of make this thing, and it is both of us,
I
uh,
actually remember getting it on a pirate video, and
oh
one of my
wow.
mates went, "You've got to see this." He says, "This will be right up your street."
Oh
Um,
great.
and it
Okay.
and it was, and I bought the DVD um, when I got the internet and it was released and
Right.
things. And did I spot you as one of the cannibals at the end?
My brother is a cannibal. Let me see. I am only a SWAT member, and I have a mask, so I'm not in that one. At
Right.
the time, I don't feel quite so strongly about this now, but at the time, it was very exciting to me to not appear in a film. And I say
Yeah.
that because when you're growing up and you're making movies with your friends, you're in it because you have to be, because there's no one to play the other parts, and so Killers was, close to an attempt of like, oh, I don't have to be in this one. But of course, I ended up being, a soldier or hands or whatever, throughout. I think Convent was the first one that I could like truly not be in the movie. And now it's been so long that I think the rules are essentially the same. I'm more than happy to be in other people's movies. But my movies, unless there's a specific reason, I don't really see the reason for that.
Well,
So
you have got a good few acting credits, 16,
a couple,
16
but
there.
I'm always happy to add to them. So
And then we'll move on to 2000, The Convent.
right,
Superb film.
thank you.
Absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
Great cast as well.
yeah,
And
no, that
great
was a lot of fun.
and great special effects.
Oh, awesome, much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, there's always hindsight's 2020, and it kills me. I could have gotten Screaming Mad George, and I should have, but I was saving him to work with him on another project, which never ended up happening. So I'm
Oh,
always, as you say great effects, I'm like, oh, but they could have been better. But just the nature you live with, even this many years out, you're kind of like, oh God, I wish I did that, But well,
so I mean that came, was it 6 years, 4 years, sorry, after Killers. Was it hard for getting your second film? It's like the album, isn't it? It's tricky second album, tricky
yeah, but
second film.
weirdly, that one was very easy because, for better or worse, that was. I mean, this is sort of sad to say, but it's true. The hottest my career ever has been was after Killers, in between Convent. I got picked up by a major, agency. At that time it was ICM, an agent he's still my agent, but at the time he was Robert Rodriguez's agent, and eventually became like Guillermo del Toro. So I got a big Hollywood offers that I didn't like, and in my lack of foresight or understanding the business, just being a young punk, I was like, I want to make Evil Dead. and Hollywood didn't want to make Evil Dead, at that time. And I was like, I these because in my own defense, it was at a time of slashers, which I know have grown a certain amount of affection, but even at the time, I thought they were lame, which was the bloodless
Yeah,
PG-13 slasher film. And I'm talking about things like Valentine. I'm talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm talking about not
yeah.
Scream, of course. Scream is a classic and wonderful, but all the PG-13 copies
The
that
ones
came,
that came after Scream, that
yeah,
kind
the
of
Urban Legend,
resurgence.
all that kind of thing. And they were all PG-13 and they're all like kind of CW kind of, teen actors and things like that. And I wanted, for better or worse, I wanted gore, I wanted blood, I wanted exploding heads. I'm like, this is why I came to make movies. It was not to do this safe, bloodless crap, which pays well and could have changed my life. I am here to make B movie shit, but awesome B movie shit. And so that also got into Sundance, but by that point, Hollywood, which I didn't know was such a kind of a collective brain, the word had kind of gotten out as like he passed on all these movies and he did that instead. We don't know what's wrong with him, so we're just going to kind of take a step back. And yeah, that was the height. So Killers. I'm sorry, Convent came rather easily. It was the company that actually released Killers said, we have to do this other film. One of the writers here wants to do a movie about a haunted convent, and I was like, "Ooh, demon nuns!" I didn't have any demon nuns. That was the first thing I thought of was when they said haunted convent. I was like, "Demon nuns," and can we make them explode? And they were like, "Oh, you can do whatever you want." And that's what it is. Anytime I have freedom and I hear that kind of you can do whatever you want, that's the big yes. So even though I probably passed on a $200,000 paycheck to make some studio shit. To me, it's much more joyous to maybe make a tenth of that, but have total freedom to do whatever you wanted, and so that's what we did. And even though I could look at it as like, oh my God, I should have gone Hollywood and I should have made bigger things. A lot of the best things in my life came about because of the convent. That's kind of what put me on the map onto Fangoria. That's what introduced me to a lot of my best friends now. That's how a lot of other filmmakers that I admire. I mentioned Guillermo del Toro earlier. That's how like he came to know about it, and James Wan, and a few people that are still in my life, thankfully. And that's how, in a weird way, I ended up with the day job that I currently have right now on Beavis and Butthead. So the convent really gave me a lot. So as much as it's easy as a thing to go, oh, it's just a B movie, and you could have done something big. It's kind of like, yeah, I guess it's how we measure success, I suppose. So I don't know. To me, it was good for the soul, and I like the movie. So
it is a fantastic film, and it's got some, as I say, some great gore effects. Fantastic opening song as well, which carries on through,
yeah.
and Adrian Barbeau.
Adrian Barbeau, absolutely. What a joy. That was, I think, the first kind of like real celebrity I got to work with, and was my first choice for the role. It just seemed logical, who was the badass in the 80s and, between Escape from New York and The Fog, and Swamp Thing, and Adrian Barbeau was just always kind of had that gravitas, and she was great. And we were very lucky to get her, and that she still supports the movie, so.
Oh, that's brilliant. You mentioned Swamp Thing there. I've got to ask, Swamp Thing or Return of the Swamp Thing?
Ooh, well, that's Wes Craven versus Jim Wynorski. By just horror street cred, I have to go with Wes Craven. But which is the one that I kind of secretly enjoy a little bit more? Probably Return of Swamp Thing. You got Dick
Yeah,
Durock, you got
the
uh,
costume was looked a lot better.
yeah, the costume look a lot better. Absolutely. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of fun. Not necessarily the biggest Wynorski fan, but he had a couple, Chopping Mall and a few sure.
I do like Jim. It was the first person I interviewed on here.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so no, I've got a soft spot for Jim, I must admit. Not, as I
I
say, not a massive fan of all his films, especially his kind of soft core
right, sure,
stuff.
sure, totally. Yeah,
But
that's more.
his genre stuff, I really dig.
Yeah, that's more what I know him for is the softcore stuff. But obviously, we got Return to Swamp Thing, Chopping Mall. I'm trying to think what else is in the Wynorski that one should know.
Slumber Party Massacre, is it Slumber Party or Sorority House Massacre 2? And Hard to Die.
Right. He didn't
Um,
do one with the guitar, right? I don't think that's Slumber Party
no,
Massacre.
no, he didn't do one of those ones. They were
So
all
it was
women
Party
who
House Massacre too.
directed them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Last Empire.
Oh, I don't think I know that one.
Oh, that's a great one. That was his first one. Last Empire, and
Okay.
obviously Chopping Mall.
Yeah.
Um, and Return of the
There's a
Swamp Thing, and he's done loads of action ones as well.
they're
Um,
kind of fascinating filmmakers. I kind of put him and Albert Pyun in similar,
yeah,
place where it's like you see the passion at one time, you see the fire, and then that fire kind of fades, or I don't know what happens, but that fire kind of like whatever. But you do see it there, especially Pyun's got some really cool stuff, early on and then some not so good stuff. But it's a balance. There was passion at least at one time. So
yes, yes. I
yeah.
think they just want to make films. That's the big thing. No matter what it is, they just want to
Well,
make a film.
Brandon did really cool shit early on because I feel any movie is better if it features a cyborg. But and so he would have all these cool gun battles with all the sparks and shit like that, and I'm trying to think of the movie where he like shoots through the floor and then like goes, anyway, between Split Second and oh my God, I'm forgetting the other like kind of big cyborg one, his first one. Anyway, but there was interesting stuff and there was passion behind it, and so I always kind of admire that, and said filmmakers like Wynorski and him kind of have a place in my heart of like okay. Eventually, you
Yeah.
guys did sell out completely, but there was a time, that was good stuff.
And then how did you get Adrian Barbeau, by the way?
I mean, thankfully it was a funded movie, and we just made a small offer to her agent, and that wasn't a big deal. Coolio was a little harder because that's the other name in the film. We knew
Yeah.
his weed dealer, and we got him an offer. We gave him a free eighth on us, and an offer for the movie. He said yes.
That's the best story I've heard. We went through Coolio's weed dealer to get Coolio in the film.
Yeah, so we didn't know Adrian's weed dealer, so we had to go through her agent. So, uh,
And do you still know about Coolio's weed dealer?
I do not. No, 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 no. And Coolio is also another one that has passed. So
It'll
no
have been an
longer.
interesting character to work with, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a day. I'll put it this way: it was only a day, but for that day, there was a lot of things that I remember. And one of the things was that he loved PlayStation, and again, he was a big rapper at the time. He was the star, But if you wanted to, wasn't pole position. That's too old a game, but I was
Ridge Racer?
no something GTO. I want to say
Oh,
I
Gran
forget, but
Turismo?
I think it was Gran Turismo. It might have been Gran Turismo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if there was one for PlayStation, regardless, he would make the cast pay $5 to play him. And if you could beat him in a race, you get $10. He'd put his five down too, but he delighted on taking the cast $5 at a time to race them on GTO. So that's one of the things I remember. And then he also didn't like the hairdresser messing with the hair. He had his own hairdresser, but and then she left. And if we tried to do anything, he was really like, like he wasn't cool with that. Don't touch the Coolio. But yeah, no, I mean, he was fun. I mean, he was there. He was present. He did his thing. He liked horror movies. And again, we were a bunch of kids, so the fact that he did it, that's awesome. So I'm happy he did.
No, not a, two great gets for your second film, I've got to say. And I mean, obviously, there's Exorcist homages as well as Evil Dead homages in there.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's just really It is. It's great fun.
I mean, for whatever it's worth, and that's, if, when you're ever, especially when you're young, there is a naive freedom because you're not jaded and you're not the industry hasn't chewed you up and spit you out yet. So for whatever it's worth, that movie's real. That movie's pure. That movie is pure. I love Evil Dead and I want to make movies like Evil Dead and Dead Alive and Peter Jackson and I want to make splattery shit even if it's the low budget that we have. And so we just didn't know any better and I didn't care about, oh, well, that's not really what audiences are looking at for these days. I just didn't care about that. And this didn't even enter my mind. I was hoping they would, like, oh, they'll love it. They'll see it and it'll come out for it's taken a while, but the movie has kind of caught on over time, and I'm very happy that it's now 26 years later, almost, or 25 years later, and I'm happy that we get a 4K, and in several countries, and then that makes me very happy because there was a time, especially when you're making these low budget movies on film, that you feel, wow, this hasn't really been preserved. No one's really, backed this up or anything. I might lose this, and there was a long time that, especially the convent negative was missing. We couldn't find
Right.
it. So yeah, so thankfully the very smart and dedicated people at Synapse Films made a search for it and they actually found it, which was awesome. So
And it's great fun, and all the homages are there for the great. I mean, I grew up with The Evil Dead. It's one of my favorite films.
oh, absolutely. I
So
mean, we wanted to make movies was especially Evil Dead 2, so
yeah, oh yeah, I can remember getting Evil Dead 2 on VHS because I was a little bit too young to see it on the cinema.
right.
Um, and it was just my dad had gone, "I've got it." Yes, because I'd read about it in Fango and stuff like that. Because I was
Yeah,
already
sure.
reading the horror mags. But when we could get them in Carlisle, because it was a bit hard, so I had to get
Oh,
my mum to go to the newsagent to order it. So I got it on a regular basis.
oh, that's very
Um,
cool. God, what good parents you had.
well, my dad didn't believe in censorship,
Uh-huh.
except for porn.
Right.
So I was watching Cannibal Holocaust, um, Ferox Apocalypse, all the video nasties that are called now. When I was
Right.
like 7, 8 year old, Dawn of the Dead
Yeah.
was the first VHS I saw.
Right, right. No, I certainly come from a very warped background, a similar warped background like yourself. So yeah.
It's got to be done. It is. It's got to be done. And then you directed Masters of Horror documentary about the essence of horror movies, really.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a delight. That's something that I did in 2000. I think came out in 2002. But that was just a very strange job that landed, on my lap, kind of that this company called Flixmix, which was a subset of Universal, was kind of doing these DVDs that had just clips of movies, and the first
yeah,
one they did was Boogeymen, and it would be a clip from Freddy and a clip from Friday the 13th or Halloween or whatever. And they didn't do great, but they had like a slate of movies, and one of the that they wanted to do, and one of them was going to be Masters. I think it was originally called Masters of the Macabre, but they changed it to Masters of Horror because most people couldn't pronounce macabre. I'm American. I'm sorry. Not proud, especially these days. Not proud to say that, but yeah, they thought macabre was too complicated, so like, oh, let's change to Masters of Horror. So anyway, um, and it was also going to be a compilation disc, but I had with the opportunity and with the it's actually funny. I don't think I tell the story too much. Because I was working for Universal and back then, in the offices they had Universal letterhead fax paper. And I was like, well, okay, I know it's just supposed to be a clip show or a clip DVD where they're going to show clips of John Carpenter movies and clips of George Romero movies or whatever. But like, I'm with Universal. I can fax anybody in Hollywood and have the Universal, what's it called, letterhead, and they'll take me seriously. even though they don't know that I'm just a 22, or 24-year-old kid who just directed the convent. They won't know that. They'll think I'm some big executive because again, this is the days of fax. This is before we all used emails
Yeah.
regularly. And so what I did was I just said, fuck it, let me try to get in contact with as many of these guys as I can, Wes Craven and John Carpenter, and I just knew that they'd read it because it came with the Universal Pictures letterhead. And so I took that letterhead and would write these nice letters about how I was working with Universal Pictures to do the ultimate tribute to these filmmakers, and I absolutely lied to all of them. I said, to John Carpenter, oh yeah, Wes Craven is already in, and George Romero is already in, and Toby Hooper's in. And at the time, I didn't have anybody, but the moment John Carpenter said yes, and I'm like, okay, well now I've got Universal Pictures and I've got John Carpenter. All right, these fuckers better line up. So I did the same thing. I went to now I went to Toby Hooper, now I went to George Romero, and I got all of them. I got the only one I couldn't get was Sam Raimi because he was about to do this little unknown movie called Spider-Man. Anyway, and he says he didn't like being on camera as well. But I got everyone they would let me. The only one they wouldn't let me get was Cronenberg because he was in Canada, cheap bastards. And they should have because it was Universal, so we had clips from Videodrome and stuff like that. So they should have. And to be honest, we might have, but back then he was a little bit of a prima donna bitch and like didn't like being called Masters of Horror. So that might have been it too. Maybe we did try and he might have said no as well. I forget. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so my idea was just like let's interview these guys because I want to meet them. And we can put this as DVD supplements. There'll be the chapters and stuff like that, and it wasn't too hard to sell the company of like, no, we'll load the DVD besides the clips. We'll have the directors, and they're like, okay, if you'll do it, we'll sign off on it. So they did, and I went and I got it. I got all the interviews, and then the original DVD, Boogeyman, came out and it flopped. No one cared. And they had another one called Ultimate Fights that came out immediately after, and that kind of fizzled as well. And the department at Universal was going to be shut down, and the president CEO was just like, oh my god, it's just a mess. What are we going to do? They canceled everything, and I'm like, well, I have all this footage, and you licensed all the clips for Boogeyman. Really, it was a total cheat because they licensed it for that DVD, not the special. But again, it's now 25 years ago. I'm sure nobody cares. You can't find the documentary except on YouTube, so it doesn't matter. But we did it anyway. We used all the clips that we had licensed for the Boogeyman. We did the We used the interviews and we made a documentary. Me and my friend Dave Parker, and we were able to sell it to Showtime, or Universal was that department was able to sell it to Showtime, and then they needed a host, and of course, as we've established, I'm a bit of a Raimi fan, so we got Bruce Campbell to host it, and for again a 24-year-old whatever it was movie geek, there's nothing better than that. It's like I made a documentary with George Romero, John Carpenter, Dario Argento, Wes Craven, a young Guillermo del Toro before he was really anybody. I mean,
Yeah,
he was
true.
doing Hellboy, he was doing Blade 2 at the time. Stuart Gordon, a lot of people aren't with us anymore. John Landis, and I was just really proud of what we were able to put together. And then the cherry on top of getting Bruce Campbell on it is like, I love it. The sad thing, because it was now part of a defunct company, because the licensing was really a cheat from a DVD, all the licensing kind of went away. So that movie is out of print and officially you can't get it and we can't really release it, which is a crying shame because I really do think it came out well. But you can find it on YouTube. So
It
it
is.
does.
That's where I found it and watched it and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, nice. Good. Yeah, no, I'm proud of that one. That was the first documentary I've ever made, and should we get up to current events, that might lead us into what I'm doing now, which is not the second documentary I made. I'm making the third documentary that I've ever made right now. So
What's the second one you made?
the second one I made, I don't think and that was only a producing job, and it was a job, so it doesn't. I don't count it as
Right.
one of my films. So it was called.
That's why I haven't got that written down.
Yeah, it was called Secrets of the Occult, and a job that I was in New York City. That was fun. I got to do it for like 7 months, and it was, about like spiritualists and occultists and whether it was Madame Blavatsky or Anton LaVey or oh Jesus Christ, my head, you get older, things start slipping. Whatever. Yeah, any of the famed kind of Aleister Crowley, people like that. It was just a documentary on kind of them. So it wasn't exactly horror, but it was occultish enough. That's why they got me. But it was a gig. It wasn't so much
Yeah.
a job. I consider that the second documentary produced, and now I'm doing a third. So
Oh, fantastic. I
this
look
one is
forward.
one of my films. This one is, I would say, out of all the documentaries I've done, is more of a film than even Masters of Horror or that one. This one is its own thing. It's
Can we
definitely my.
get an exclusive on what it's about?
You can get, I don't know if it's exclusive. I've been slowly kind of letting it leak, and if anyone who watches my social medias might kind of start to put it together. But I've been working with the actor Bruce Dern, and I'm making a documentary all about his life and his career.
Oh, fantastic. He's a
And
great actor.
is amazing. And even though it's my first non-genre film, but he's kind of a notorious bad guy, and so I kind of think like, all right, it's not exactly a genre film, but I kind of think genre fans are going to enjoy it. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
Silent Running. He's a genre actor. Silent Running is just a beautiful film.
Absolutely. It's like there's enough in there and it's through me, so it's like there's enough nerdy, you know, fan pulpish stuff that I think that all cinema fans can latch onto, but I also think genre fans and horror fans are going to take it in stride without any like, oh man, this isn't a horror movie, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, but I think this is a little different, and this is again, even the first one, even Masters of Horror, I was working for somebody and doing a product
Yeah.
that I molded, but I was doing it for somebody else. The second one was completely first, their thing. This one is all mine. This is a documentary I came up with, I wanted to do, I'm producing it, I'm directing it. It's got animation, it's got lots of shit in it. It's my next movie. And
Oh, well, I
hopefully
look forward to seeing that. I
hopefully
really
next
do.
year, I would think sometime in 2026. I hope you'll be hearing about it. So
Oh, superb. So yeah, definitely let us know and I'll share it on all my socials and things for you when it comes out.
awesome.
Um, get it out there, get the name out there. So after Massive Horror, it brings us to the Grave Dancers.
Yeah.
Um,
So Grave Dancers is again, it's a long story. They're all long stories. I don't want to get too bogged down in it, but Grave Dancers is the hardest movie I've ever had to make. It was off of the, I'm not going to say disappointment, but like, you always hope, you always dream you're going to make a movie. And in some ways I've been spoiled and still am spoiled and still think this way because of my first film, because, I was just an indie filmmaker. We submitted into Sundance on a fluke. I wasn't even like, okay, if you want to, I guess, sure. We got in, and so now you kind of always hope that next movie you're going to make is going to be the one that's going to launch you to the next level. And the convent, even though it has now kind of grown its a bit of culty love, did not launch me to the next
yeah,
level. It really, kind of no one really bought it, and it didn't get a big release, and ultimately Lionsgate put it out, but on VHS, and I think some DVD or whatever. But it
yeah,
certainly
it was
didn't get.
available on DVD because
Okay.
I've got a copy on DVD of it somewhere.
I'm not sure if it was in America, funny enough. It probably was. You're right. I'm sure it probably was. I'm just, it's been a long time. So, but yeah, but you could only find it like here. We had a chain of stores that was like Blockbuster Video called Hollywood Video. You could find it there, and it was really, really was a word of mouth kind of thing. So, getting my next film, sure, I got Masters of Horror, the documentary, but that's no points into getting your next film made.
No,
No one was excited about funding my next film by any means. So I had found the script called Grave Dancers by Brad Keane and Chris Skinner, and I liked it quite a bit. It reminded me of Poltergeist, and it's a super long story that I'm about to record a commentary on the new 4K Blu-ray of it. So I'll probably tell the full
right.
story of that. I'll just tell a very abridged story that even though like this was an attempt to kind of make my first kind of studio film, everything at every point always went wrong. There was a time it was supposed to be funded by Fox, and Madonna's company Maverick were producers on it, and it was going to be a $15 million studio film, and a long series of events, but ultimately that crashed, and we made it. And also at one point, Fox, when they were going to do it, fired me because they saw the
Oh,
content. And it's even though this movie I'm developing and they like it, and we've gotten this stuff, they were like, we saw his last film and we just don't think he's studio material. So that was another, and especially as I told you before, I was on a hot streak like 3-4 years before that on Killers. So now to get to this point, that now they don't want me at all. Not only are they not get the offers, but okay, here's what I want to do, and like, oh God, he's B movie. He's got that B movie stink on him. Anyway, so which I wear proudly. Anyway, so then ultimately we did it for with a company called Code Entertainment, that we did it under around $2 million. It was supposed to be 15, and we did it for 2. And that's the movie that is there. But through that process, I had producers breathing down my neck and second guessing me at every turn. I had a cast that I didn't really want,
oh,
and every production trouble you could imagine. The union showed up and they wanted to shut us down so that we could be union. We had a snowstorm. We had a hepatitis breakout. We had a lightning storm. We had a fist fight between one of the actors and a producer. Actually, sorry, it was the producer and the DP. Another actor got involved, but yeah. Just everything went wrong, and you still are kind of hoping that this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one that breaks it. And there's stuff that I like about the movie, but so much was going against it making it. It's just it's all I can see now is just like, yeah, that's not exactly the movie I was trying to make. I was trying to make something a little funnier, but everybody feels they know everything, and so the producers didn't know it's a horror movie. It can't be funny, and of course they didn't want to hire me in the first place, so I can't say, but didn't you see my last stuff? And I'm like, yeah, never, you did, never mind. Because they wanted to fire me too. Not only Fox, but the producers are like, oh, we don't want this guy. And I'm like, I brought you the project, motherfuckers. Anyway. So it was hard. It was very hard, and ultimately, we didn't get into Sundance, which my first 2 movies had. So that was also kind of like a reality check of like, oh, the Sundance Kid thing is kind of now going away. We did get into another prestigious festival, which was Tribeca, and ultimately Lionsgate, and a thing called After Dark Horror Fest, which I think was only an American
yes.
came out that way.
No,
Yeah.
I can remember it because I used to read a lot of American websites
Okay,
for my
right,
horror
right.
entertainment and stuff like that. And I can remember it coming out, and I think I've got it on a After
The DVD.
Dark Film Fest
Yeah.
DVD.
And to be fair, it's like that in some ways was kind of the best thing that happened with the movie, because it was a shame it was only for a weekend, but that After Dark Horror Fest did pretty well at the box office, and we were legitimately on film prints all over the country. And but the thing is, we were one of 8 movies, so our movie only played
Yeah,
like 3 times a weekend, or so, if that. So it was a bit of a bummer that it was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of the dream of what you want, but not fully. So Grave Dancers is one that while I like a lot of it, it is a very flawed film, and you will hear me spill my guts on the new 4K Blu-ray coming out from Synapse next year. So
there you go. I mean, it's got great atmosphere and it's very creepy, and you've got that poltergeist kind of vibe going for it.
right. It,
Definitely
it
works.
adds great creature effects. That's one thing that I like. I really love the design of the ghosts, and I worked with Norman Cabrera, who's still a very close collaborator on my effects, and yeah, I hope always will be. It's kind of like a secret weapon at this point. Is like I love his stuff, but that was the first time we got to work with each other, and so I like that. It's just that the then some people, and I don't know, it's hard to say, and there's so many drafts and so many people saying it should be like this and some people saying it should be like that.
Yeah,
My idea was that it was, and I don't think, and I'm probably wrong on it, was that it was supposed to start scary and poltergeisty and move towards Evil Dead.
yeah,
uh and I think that's too much for audiences to handle, because Now, two things. Again, I had a lot of forces pushing against me, so I couldn't quite make that transition as smooth as I liked. The ending's supposed to be a lot funnier. There was definitely cuts of it that is way more Evil Deady and way bloodier and way just more violent and kind of cartoony. But again, because the first half is serious, people are like, "What the hell is that?" People are fucking laughing their asses off, and I'm like, "Yeah." And, they didn't like that, so now it's kind of neither here nor there. So that big head at the end, to me, is super goofy and fun, but for other people are like, what the fuck? This was like, supposed to be serious, and then I see something like Insidious, and which is kind of a very similar structure and a similar thing, and
Yeah.
they just were wise enough to play it straight, which I'm not. Sometimes I make bad calls, and it was an enormous hit. Now again, they had Patrick Wilson and all sorts of great actors and Lin Shaye and stuff like that. I had the guy from Prison Break. It was lovely, Dominic Purcell. It was lovely, but he's stoic and he's not gonna give you a lot of range, but he does what he does, and that was his kind of his voice. Like, I want to be like Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood, say my lines and get off. It's like, well, that's not really what the part was written as, but you're muscle bound and can crush me with your, thumb. So I'm not gonna fight with you. So anyway, so yeah, so the movie's not quite what I want it to be, but I'm happy it exists, and once again, happy it is coming out re-released next year on 4K.
Because I read somewhere it was planned as a trilogy to start with as well.
Every movie I make is planned as a trilogy. No one wants to fucking make them except me. So that's the problem. Big Ass Spider was planned as a trilogy. The Convent was planned as a trilogy, or at least a prequel. I'd make sequels to any of them. The only fucking one that got a sequel was fucking Lava Lantula, which is a TV movie that I got hired for, and I don't, I'm so with. Uh,
Yeah.
so and I didn't direct. So that's the only sequel of any of my movies. So that pains me. I wanted more Satanic Hispanics, but at some point someone has to break the news going like, it didn't make that much money. We're not making a sequel. Uh, so I have to live with that. So
And was it roughly based on or inspired slightly by the Haunted Mansion, Disney's?
yeah, very much of the ghosts and the design, the kind of idea of grim grinning ghosts was very much kind of a an homage to the Haunted Mansion, and I just wanted that kind of spooky kind of feel. And people, again, and not that it matters, not barely anybody even knows the movie, but I think some friends were disappointed when I'd set that up, and they were like, it's not all in a graveyard and there's no doom buggies. And I'm like, yeah, but there's grim grinning ghosts. Never mind. It's to me it has Haunted Mansion in its DNA, so
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And that takes us 2013, Big Ass Spider.
yeah, big jump there because that was like 6 years of not working, and the bitter pill that many directors have to deal with these days, especially now, especially independent filmmakers, of like, oh, you thought you were gonna make a living at doing this? No. No. Because up until that point, between Killers and Grave Dancers, there were definitely some rough patches, but I had just made a living writing and directing, and Grave Dancers was the rude awakening that maybe I might want to seek other employment. It could be in the film industry. Doesn't mean I don't have to give up my dreams or anything like that. But it was the kind of reality check that like maybe I should broaden my skill set and find a few other things to do in the industry because I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to be able to eat or survive making films. And case in point, it was 6 years between Grave Dancers and Big Ass Spider. Weirdly, 6 years is a common thing for me. Like between films, it's just like that one. Time flies is all I can say, and movies are hard to get made. But that one I really felt. That one was a really dry period of my life, and again brought good things. I started editing, and have edited a ton of movies and television ever since, and I think that still made me a better filmmaker because now I was still making films. I was still telling stories every day, and I feel I
Yeah.
do every day. I find some way to tell stories or work on movies of some things. So you're constantly sharpening your brain and exercising the filmmaking brain, but you're not making movies, and so that lasted 6 years, and certainly many times that you were wondering, I guess that was it. I guess I got to make 3 movies, and that was the end. And what a bummer. I was hoping I was gonna, I wanted to be John Carpenter, like, or Sam Raimi, or any, like that. But it looks like this is where the road ends. And to my surprise, one day a script called Mega Spider showed up in my inbox that I was like, really? Has it come to this? Yeah, yeah, it has. So what are you going to do about it? And really had to make a choice. And then, if anything, at that point, I was just happy someone was interested in me directing something. I was surprised at that, and I had a conversation with myself, and I said, you can just do this and either take your name off it, or just don't really promote it, or don't make a big deal about it, and treat it the way you feel it is, Mega Spider, oh, that's beneath me, and you can treat it like it's beneath you. Or you could try to make something of this and look at this as an opportunity, and look at this as, hey, someone's letting you make a film, and no matter what, you're on set and you're getting to make what you want on this. And the script is not like, I don't think anyone was so married to Mega Spider that they were like, no, this is the screenplay that we have to make. I think as long as it kind of hit the basic beats and it was a giant spider movie, I felt they would be happy. So I kind of was like, look, this is up to me. There's an opportunity. It's what I do with it. I can choose to be sad about it, and just go, I don't get better things, or go like, I got a fucking giant spider movie to make. I'm gonna make the best fucking giant spider movie I possibly can. And so I took the second attitude, thankfully, and fought with the producers for 2 years to call it Big Ass Spider. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to call it Mega Spider or something like that. And I'm like, no, no, no. I don't know why. I just feel Big Ass Spider is the correct title for this movie. And then the complete opposite of Grave Dancers happened. Instead of everything being difficult, everything went my way and everything worked. Uh,
And it,
and and I was blessed with a cast that brought something to it. Wasn't just lunks of wood or comedy that didn't work, that they couldn't hit it. These people were funny. These people had suggestions. These people had ideas, and there was a collaboration, and there was an excitement on set. And every day I was excited about, like, what are we gonna get? Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do today? And I really got lost back into the filmmaker that I was, the child filmmaker that made movies when I was a little kid and made Killers and Convent. I really got back to that. And Again, knowing that, like, it's still a giant spider movie, it's probably going to be a Sci-Fi Channel movie at best. But again, much like when we submitted to Sundance the first time, we tried South by Southwest, which is a huge festival here in the U.S. In Texas. To my shock, we got in, and not only that, we got great reviews and got a lot of attention, and then we still ended up on Sci-Fi Channel, but like as an independent film, as a good sale, as a good thing, and then at that moment, it's
yeah.
like, this is the first time 2 million people are going to see my movie at one time, and that's pretty cool. And so that I considered a big win, and felt like, okay, maybe I'm back again. Maybe, opportunities are going to roll in. Maybe the phone's going to ring. All right, phone ring. And it didn't. And I was like, okay, ring. And a little more time, and I'm like, all right. And then it rang, and I was like, oh my God, oh fuck, okay, what is it? And it's like, it's Sci-Fi Channel. Like, oh, can you do a giant spider? But we love what you did with that giant spider. Can you do it for us now? And I'm like, oh, I mean, that's not really what it's not. I mean, I was kind of trying to do that to get to another level.
Yeah.
Didn't make it, but you could, but we want you. And as I tell people, it's rare in my life that somebody asks me to do things. Most of the movies I've made is nobody asked me. We're better or worse, you get them because I'm just so stubborn and insistent. I'm gonna make no matter what. Nobody's going, please, Mike, when is your next movie, or let us hire you. That rarely happens, but this was one of the rare times since the very beginning of my career, when I had that little hot phase, after Killers. It was the first time in my career that like a network, but granted it was Sci-Fi Channel, but fine, but a network was asking me like, hey, we want you to do this. And I was like, you know what, No one else is asking, and I don't think this is necessarily a step up, but what the fuck, let's do it. And Steve Gutenberg came on board, and thus was born Lavalantula. Part big ass spider, part Sharknado. I take credit for the funny parts, and and some of the movie I don't love, but I really like the experience, and we had a good time making it, largely with the cast, largely with the crew. It was fun,
We'll we'll
overall.
we'll we'll, we'll get to that in a minute. But back to
Oh,
Big Ass
sorry.
Spider. No, it's all right.
Sorry.
Um, great opening song, Storm Large version of the Pixies, Where Is Mind, which you talked about earlier on.
Right.
And something, I watched it again today, and I think the effects still kind of stand up compared to some bigger budget movies.
Oh, great. Yeah, that we were very blessed on that. And that was something that I completely, it's nice to know that, I'd love to say, oh, if my instincts are always right, but I can be very, very wrong sometimes. And I was very hesitant about the CG. 'Cause I'm not a CG person, I've kind of
Yeah,
come to embrace it, but I still, no matter what, as one who collects toys and, monsters and, just got my Howling figure the other day. It's like I like practical effects. I grew up on Rob Bottin and Stan Winston, Rick Baker. That's the
and you
stuff
can
we love.
tell through your career that you do love your practical effects.
Oh, absolutely, no, 100%. So now the star of the movie is this big digital thing, and they tell me, I'm like, who's gonna do it? Like, we can't afford that. They're like, oh, we got this great company in Pakistan. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Where, and again, I thought probably pretty horrible thoughts about like, that it was gonna be like some warehouse in a, in a boiler room somewhere. There was a
Yeah,
stack of old computers that they were, doing this stuff. But I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. This company, Ice Animation, like myself, looked at this as an opportunity, like an American company is asking us to do something, and we got the opportunity to really show what we can do. And they did, and oh, they shut me up very fast. I mean, I just remember seeing the first test and just going like, oh no, never mind, they're great. Yeah.
no, it does. It's still compared to some of big budget stuff that's coming out now. When you look at CG and just go, that's dog shit for the money you're spending on it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah,
And
it's a movie, and I think a lot of stuff came out great. I mean, it's part we thought about stuff of like, let's make it a hard shelled creature because that's kind of the easiest thing to do in CG in the daylight. But overall, it's like, they really, yeah, again, they looked at it as an opportunity and they seized it and they really ran with it. So again, that's what I mean. It's like that movie, things just lined up well, and it was just such a nice contrast to Grave Dancers, which was just the opposite, and so it was just weird that like, you mean shit works out sometimes,
yeah, well, that's it.
yeah.
That's it. Sometimes you're right, shit just works out. Lynn
Especially
Shay is excellent as always.
I'm sorry, who was it? Lin Shaye? Oh, yeah,
Lynn Shay is excellent as always. Whatever she's in, she's always just brilliant.
a delight and one of my favorite people on earth. So she is like family.
And there was a Lloyd Kaufman cameo as well.
Yes, there's a Lloyd Kaufman cameo as well. That one I owe largely to Epic Pictures, because they would be at the film markets at like Cannes and Berlin, and Lloyd, especially at the time, just really liked making cameos in movies. I was made a cameo in another movie called Hatchet 2, that we were both in, and whatnot. And
Yes.
so someone had suggested, hey, what if you get Lloyd for a cameo? And I said yes. And honestly, I have one regret on that day, is that I kind of wanted to get, and I had thought about it, I just wasn't proactive about it. I really regret this. Because just to kind of make the whole trauma thing together, I wanted to get James Gunn, to make a cameo as well. And I'd asked Lloyd to ask him, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll text him." But I think he was pulling my leg. I think he was bullshitting me. He's like, "Oh, I don't,
Yeah.
whatever." But I was friendly on Facebook and friendly enough with James, that I could have written him and asked it. And at the time, because this is pre Superman, pre DC, pre big being a big time director, pre Marvel,
Yeah.
all that. I asked him. I told him, yeah, I actually kind of wanted you to do it, to kill you in it. And he's like, you should have. I would have done it. And I'm like, God damn it, that would have been that would have been good, but I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So. Fun fact
Oh,
that
that's a shame.
that nobody knows, James Wan is the second unit director on Big Ass Spider. Another huge favor he did for me. So because he didn't have to, he
Oh,
was
that I didn't know that myself.
nobody knows that. It's not in the credits or anything. It's only one scene, but it's the big park attack scene.
Right,
But
yeah.
but James Wan was the other unit director on that day of having the spider kill people. So that's a fun fact. So it would have been Lloyd Kaufman, James Wan, and James Gunn on the set for that scene, and I didn't do it. I should have done it. So I regret that. I regret that hugely. So
And it's got some great humor in it, like it's 20 inches long and black.
sure. I mean,
That
again,
I got a giggle out of that.
I again, some of it I don't know what is mine. I don't know what is Greg's. I don't know what is Lombardo's. There was just such a collaboration of like
Yes.
we just kind of got the tone of the movie. It's like and again, it all comes down to we love Sam Raimi or I love Sam Raimi. I love idiots as our leads. I got it from Ash. I certainly enjoy it with Jack Burton and Big Trouble in Little China. I
Yeah.
love Blowhard Idiot as your lead. I don't know why, but I love it. And so Alex Mathis, which is the lead exterminator in Big Ass Spider, that was the thing. Is just like let's just make him kind of a lunkhead. Now he's lovable and he's charming and he's funny and he will get it done at the end of the day, kind of like Ash. But he's an idiot, and so I like that, and that I like that the sidekick was kind of smarter and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah,
Great
it was
chemistry in the whole film as well.
and again, that's one of those things you can't predict because certainly we didn't have budgets for casting directors and auditions. I had known Greg Grunberg from Heroes. It wasn't like anyone at the top of the list, but then I met with him and I'm like, I really like this guy. This guy's just so likable. And then he recommended his friend Lombardo, and just magic happened. So and that was great. So.
No, it is great fun, plenty of blood and through and all the rest of it.
Funny enough,
Excellent stuff.
it's got a fair amount of blood, but what was fun about that one, and as you can tell if you've seen my movies, I love gore. I mean, I love blood and all sorts of things. But Big Ass Spider was a challenge because ultimately I look at it as it's a kids movie. I mean, it's for
Yeah,
everybody. But
it's a love letter to the old big monster movies.
you absolutely can show that to a 5-year-old.
Yes,
And other than a face melting might be too much or whatever, they'll dig it. They'll like it, and that was kind of like really neat for me because that was an audience I'd never really tapped into, like kids. So it was like, okay, well that's cool that they get it, and that's cool that their parents get it. So anyway, yeah. So that was kind of fun.
and then obviously that does take us to Lavalantula 2015.
Yeah. So we
With
did the intro about the phone not ringing, and then that happened,
yeah,
and yeah, and that was again off of the success of Big Ass Spider and off of the freedom and everything working out. I had the like, yes, I want to make these kind of movies, and I don't want to talk ill about anybody. It's just the way they are. It's just Sci-Fi Channel and the production company that was making it, just had a very rigid model of what they were looking for, and it's very hard to argue with a network when Sharknado is their biggest movie. And you're constantly getting notes of like, well, in Sharknado we did this, and look, I love Anthony Ferrante. He's a good friend, and I have nothing but love for the Sharknado movies. But that wasn't what I was trying to do. I was not like oh God, I want to copy Sharknado. I have a very different approach to these type of movies. The Sharknado approach is let's take a concept so ridiculous and treat it seriously, and that'll make it funny, and that's fine, and that works, and that's fine. Mine is let's take a concept so big and ridiculous and treat it realistically. Like, how would you react if a giant spider was outside? You'd be are you what? Are you fucking kidding me? You'd be scared, you'd be nervous, you'd be looking for whatever to, fly swatter. That's all you
yeah,
have is a fucking fly swatter, whatever. There's just an uncomfortability, and so I've always been more interested in characters that you genuinely like and believe, that are scared, that are nervous, that are dumb, that are human, dealing with this thing that's way bigger than any of us can fucking deal with or comprehend. and seeing it, that's just my approach, and that's the Laurel and Hardy meets Frankenstein, or kind of approach, where the horror is serious. The monsters are real. There's nothing funny about the giant spider other than it's a giant spider, but it will kill you. It'll melt your face, it'll stab you, it'll eat you, it'll web. It's a horrible creature. But the characters can be funny. They can be funny, and
Yeah.
and not outside of the. They're in the real situation. Shaun of the Dead, I think, also kind of treats that similarly. So it's a very different thing. So I think, I have Sci-Fi and the company constantly trying to get me to make Sharknado, and of course I'm like, well, you guys hired me off a big ass spider. So really, Lavalantula is a hybrid between Sharknado and Big Ass Spider, and but I was lucky enough to get a wonderful cast with Steve Guttenberg, and then he brought on some of the Police Academy alum, and I just kind of got into the spirit of that. And once again, the actors were wonderful, and we were able to do a lot of fun stuff with them. There's a lot of stuff that I find unnecessary, and a lot of, I also had to fight against a lot of notes and a lot of like, oh, that character shouldn't do that. He's
Yeah.
serious. And I'm like, it's called fucking Lavalantula. Nothing is serious about this movie. I remember I had this line that I made the scientists do. That when he's telling them what's happening, and he's like, the Mayans had a name for it, Lavalantula. And I remember on set laughing so hard, and the producers being so pissed, and like, you were dying laughing your ass off. I'm like, yeah, it's funny. It's supposed to be funny. And they're like, that's not the movie we're making. Cut to when the movie got released, the advertising campaign, that was what they used. It was the Mayans had a name for it, Lavalantula. And I'm like, fuck you people. And then what other thing, whatever. And again, I don't mean ill of any of them. I actually really like the producers, and I actually really enjoyed working with Cinetel and the whole gang, but they didn't like me enough to hire me back. I think they considered me too much of a pain in the ass. And yes, I will fight for my movies. I'm passionate, guilty. That's fine. And so they hired somebody else to make Lavalantula 2, which was now a full-on comedy. Which is now full on trying to embrace what we were doing in the first one, completely letting go of the Sharknado kind of thing. And personally, I think they completely overdid it, because now it was just a complete romp and completely silly, and now nothing of it you could take seriously. And I was kind of like, I think you guys went too far the other direction, but it's your movie, it's your franchise. It was the last one. But
Yes.
but hey, you guys do whatever.
One thing I've noticed about your movies as well, you have you have the running time in that sweet spot of like 90 minutes, just below, just under, just over.
Or lower. Sometimes it's hard for me to get 80 minutes. Yeah, and that was actually a problem that I ran into with Lavalantula that got me in a lot of trouble. Is that I keep them short, and when you're doing a TV show, it's got to be a certain time. I handed in a cut, and I think it was like 86 minutes. There's like 4 minutes short or something like that, thinking that we were going to keep working on it. But I don't know how much I should have this. I should say basically they kicked me out of the editing room and said, "Great, we'll take it from here." And I was like, "No, it's gonna be 90 minutes. Just keep working with me on it." But they had their own editors and their own thing, and they did their own thing. But my logic of why I tell people why my movies are so short is like, look, I only have 15 days or 16 days to shoot these things, and I'm not going to make long scenes. It's like you want either the pace and you want it to keep moving, but with the days you're giving me, that's going to mean a short movie. I'm sorry. You could have either an entertaining short movie or a uneven long movie. And I'm like, I will gladly take the entertaining 85 minutes over a 100-minute movie that feels like it shouldn't be that. Especially on those budgets, because I'm trying to do set pieces, I'm trying to do car chases, I'm trying to do gunfights, I'm trying to do head explosions, and and gore effects and things like that, and those things take time. And so it's easy to have people talk in a room, but which I did for Satanic Hispanic, so ironically, but I'm trying to do other stuff, so that's something that I like my short time running, but some producers really don't. So.
No, I think that is the sweet spot. And then round or just after Lavalantula, Tales of Halloween, which from chatting with, I think it was Neil Marshall.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, I had him on the show last year. It was you basically all done it for free and called in lots of favors.
Pretty much. I mean, I think we all worked for free. I'm pretty sure that's true. And we couldn't do this now, but I remember the sweet spot was $100. You know, all actors, all not the crew, but like come out for the day. We'll pay you $100. Now it'd be like 300, I think. But yeah, that was just simply uh Big Ass Spider was a success. I had a good relationship with Epic Pictures in Los Angeles. You know, it is a beautiful community of filmmakers and horror fan lovers. And my dear friend and Neil's ex-wife, Axel Carolyn, wanted to do a series of shorts for Halloween, and I was in a position where I was like, you know what, I bet I can get it funded. So I went back to Epic Pictures, and that was my second movie that I did with them. And I said, hey, I'd like to do this anthology. You know, Axel and I will produce it. But these are the people: Neil Marshall, Darren Bousman, Lucky McKee, myself, Axel, and a couple of our other friends: Dave Parker, Adam Girash, Andrew Cash, and Paul Solit. I think I got everybody. If I missed one, I apologize. Anyway, Ryan Schifrin. So it was a opportunity to have some of my more established friends give a hand to some of the less established friends to be able to do a showcase for themselves. And again, an absolute beautiful experience. That was, big communal experience because, the horror industry around LA is just everybody knows each other and kind of goes to the same conventions and events and things like that. And so this was now a movie that everyone could work on together. And even people that absolutely had no reason to do it, like Felissa Rose, is an extra in the movie because her daughters are in the film,
Yeah,
and I don't think Barbara Crampton has any dialogue in it, or she does, or very little, So we had all these wonderful. Lisa Marie is an extra in the movie, all you were extras, just because. Oh, who else is going to be there? Oh, Mick Garris and Stuart Gordon, and all these folks are going to be a part of it. Yeah, absolutely. So there was just kind of a real fun community, and overall, I mean, I think this is weird. It's the only movie of mine that didn't get to premiere in one of the, I would say the big ones, the Sundances, the South by
yes,
Southwest, things like that. It got rejected by all these festivals. Yet fans seem to really like it. It's a perennial movie that's still, I'm sure we're coming towards October. People dust it off or restream it. I mean, it seems to have stood or it has stayed around.
yes.
Uh, thankfully. And I was surprised because yeah, people just did not seem to want it at all, kind of going, oh, this sucks or whatever. And I'm like, does it? I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. And at the end of the day, it's like, look, it's still around, and people consider it, a classic Halloween movie at this point. So not like Halloween or Trick or Treat or anything, but considering
No,
it's
it's great fun.
yeah, and considering it's a tiny budget and we did it all on a shoestring and favors, I think it's a huge win, so. But
And yours was Friday the 31st, which is a great fun homage
yeah,
to them, the slasher films with that
that
little bit of animation, Trick or Treat.
absolutely. That was an opening of another movie that I always wanted to do that no one would let me do. One of those frustrating things of like, hey, I want to make this film. No, like Hollywood was just like, absolutely not. What the fuck is this? And look, it's like I had kind of won a certain amount of favor with Big Ass Spider to kind of have a little bit of freedom on the next movie, and I was like, look, I'm not even taking the next movie as my own movie. I'm sharing it with my friends. If I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go through this pain in the ass of because it is a pain in the ass of wrangling all your friends and doing it,
Yeah.
producing it easy, especially with your friends, even though they're all wonderful people. So I knew we were going to be fine because it's like these people are cool. We're going to be fine. And we were. Um, but my and I wasn't getting paid for any of this. So my payment to myself was like, all right, I'm going to do something that no one has ever let me do, something that I just constantly get passes on and no, we don't get it. And there's a whole movie, to that opening, which is my Tales of Halloween short, and we'll probably never see it, most likely. You never know. Maybe some weird freak thing will happen and I'll get to do it eventually. But I like the spirit and that crazy over the top of basically it's Friday the 13th meets Evil Dead. Let's go. And so yeah, I had complete and total freedom. It's the first time I think in my life that it's the freest I've ever felt doing something, because it was
Right.
limited. It was only 8 minutes, and I really got to do it the way I wanted to do it. And I really think that's probably the purest of all my films. I think that is the one that no one fucked with. That is absolutely pure. Sure, it's got budget restraints. Sure, it's got whatever. But it's like, but no, that one came out the way I wanted it to come out. So.
Oh no, the whole film is a great fun film. And talking of like little animation and puppets, you wrote an episode of the excellent Stand Against Evil, which
Oh
was the
yes,
puppet episode.
yes. And
Um,
that came
Thoroughly
about.
enjoy that show.
Oh, it's a wonderful show. Yeah, it's really sad that only lasted 3 seasons, but yeah, no, very very lucky and blessed to be on that show. That was Dana Gould, who was in Tales of Halloween, and because of Tales of
Yeah.
Halloween is why he brought me on, because of Friday 31st. He was like, you got the sensibility we're going for, why don't you work on this with me? And Dana's to this day still a dear friend, and I wish the best for him. And I'm glad people discover Stand Against Evil, because I think that's a really fun show.
Oh, it is. I caught it. It's on Prime over here, so I
Okay.
caught it just as the first season had been out, and
Right.
waited eagerly. And it's a shame it only got 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It was. Um, then The Last Heist is the only film I've not been able to see because I could not find it.
Fine, do keep it that way.
That's all right then.
Bother. Yeah, don't bother.
And then we come to then Don't Kill It, 2016,
Dolph,
which is, pardon,
Dolph Lundgren, sure.
Dolph Lundgren, body jumping like the hidden first power and fallen. Um, and Ron Perlman was attached originally, was he?
For a short time, Ron Perlman was attached. Yeah, yeah, which would have been great. But don't get me wrong, I'm super happy to have Dolph, and Dolph. Was a lot of fun to work with, and I like Dolph, so it was. That was always. I always thought he was one. I mean, like all of us, we all grew up on these action movies of the '80s, so
Yeah.
I love them all: Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Dolph. Van Damme not as much, but I always like those three. So I'm really happy that I got to at least work with one of them. I hope I get to work with Schwarzenegger. Stallone's gone all MAGA, so it's a
Yeah,
shame.
yeah,
But
yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I
yeah.
mean, what was your experiences on Don't Kill It like then? How did that come about? And
It was great. I like that movie. It's not perfect. It's a very flawed film, only in the fact that it's like a $400,000 movie that we shot and I mean, like we made the entire movie in a month, not like
right,
edited, but it was a scenario that I knew a producer and he had the script and the script was fun and I had been attached to it for a while. Ron Perlman was going to do it, and I think we had a few people attached over time, and finally it got funded. I get the call like Dolph Lundgren's in and we got funded. I'm like, are you serious? Oh my god! And this was like, let's say it was like November 6th or 7th or something like that. I'm like, well, when are we going to shoot? Are we going to shoot it like spring of next year? Like, no, 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 we got to shoot it by the end of the year. And I'm looking at the calendar. It's like it's November 7th. They're like, you got to get in a plane in like 2 days. Uh, and I literally had to drop everything I was doing. And I forget exactly what the deal was, but there was a plane mishap, and we could have either waited for the plane of the net till the next day, or rented a car, driven all night, and make our location scout the next morning. And I just knew, and I still felt this way. I'm like, it comes down to this. If we wait for the plane and go tomorrow and just postpone everything a day, we're not going to do it. It's not going to get finished.
yeah,
If we drive all night and make that thing and stay on schedule, is the only way we're going to do it. So we drove all night and made that scouting meeting, and so let's say now it's November 11th or something like that. So let's say we have 3 days to prep, or 3 weeks to prep. And so that took us to like the first week of December. And so we literally had from December 2nd to December 23rd Maybe even the 24th. I might have even been on a plane on Christmas Eve, but it was right up until Christmas is the time we had to make the movie. So it was a run, and the bigger issue is that we didn't have time to do a rewrite. We needed a rewrite because you think like, okay, the script's good enough, but when we make it, we're gonna give it a polish. But we weren't expecting that you have to do it like right
No.
now. And so it never got that polish. So I regret that. Is that I wish I got another draft that knew what location we were shooting in, that kind of did it for that, because it was supposed to be in the snow originally. It was supposed to be in like Alaska, I think.
Yeah.
No, and the closest we came was that it was and we had scouted this town, and we had scouted this town square, and they're like, oh, you can't use it because this is the festival of Christmas, and it's all Christmas, throughout here. And we'd noticed the whole town had like Christmas decorations, and it really just forced us to like, I guess it's a Christmas movie. We just had to write it in that it was just happened to be around Christmas because it was just too much around in the location. So yeah, overall, I would say if that movie is flawed, is because yes, it needed another quick polish. It gets a little slow in the middle. It needed another quick polish. And just the fact that we were so low budget, we were just running and gunning, that I think it shows a little bit that how kind of minuscule, how meager the means that we had.
Some great gore effects in it though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had Robert Kurtzman, who worked on Evil Dead, too, and he's the K and K and B, and so he was there
Yeah.
to do effects, and yeah, that was fun because I like violence. I do. I like gore and violence. I can't help myself. And that movie allowed, there was at least two. It should be three, but there's at least two really good massacres in that movie that are just massacres, that are just dozens of people dying and fucking blood everywhere and axes and heads and exploding.
Yeah,
And
it's great fun.
I'm like, all right, see, yeah, that's good. I got that out of me. That is pure. That's real. That's nice. And Dolph was a delight. Dolph was wonderful. I'd love to work with him again. So
And then that basically brings us to Satanic Hispanics
yeah,
2022.
Satanic Hispanics was simply I wanted to do another anthology. Epic was open to it, but there's a lot of anthologies, as you know, and I needed a special into it. I didn't want to do another Tales of Halloween because,
No.
it would just, it's hard when you do something like that, especially when it's all friends, either you need to get the whole group together or there's going to be bitterness, and for better or worse, that whole group is kind of impossible to put back together the way it was. So it was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to fuck with it. I don't want to deal with that. I need to find something that's unique, something that hasn't been done, something that's kind of interesting. And then my friend Alejandro Bruguez, who had edited his segment of Nightmare Cinema with Mick Garris, he was like, hey, Mike, when are we going to do Satanic Hispanics, the all Latino horror anthology? And he doesn't remember this, but I swear it's true. And he said it, and it was just like, when are we going to do Satanic Hispanics, the all Latino horror anthology? And so on it went. We went back to Epic, and I'm like, okay, it's me, it's Alejandro, it's Gigi Saul Guerrero, it's Ed Sanchez of the Blair Witch Project, and it's Demian Rugna of Terrified at that moment, because now then that was before When Evil Lurks. Actually, his segment of Satanic Hispanics was shot in tandem of When Evil Lurks.
Right.
Uh,
Which is a
yeah,
superb film.
it's just fucking awesome movie. And I thought he was awesome off of Terrified. I was like, I'll work with that guy. And so, again, much like Tales of Halloween, we had no money and just spirit, but we were able to give a certain amount to each filmmaker, and it was shot. Ed shot his in Maryland, Gigi shot hers in Mexico, uh, Alejandro and myself shot in Los Angeles, Debian shot in Argentina. But it was just a celebration of Latino culture, because we were just kind of tired of seeing Latinos only as drug dealers, thieves, hookers, um, you know, you know, pickpockets, whatever, any
Yeah.
form of crime.
Yeah.
If he wasn't in the cartel, he wasn't really in the movie. You know, they always made the joke, oh, the black guy always dies first, and we were like, Latinos aren't even in the movie, man. And you really go back through the '80s, and you go like, where's the Latino in a Friday the 13th movie? Where's the Latino in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? Where, you know, all of them, Texas Chainsaw, you name it, like hardly any. And we're like, you know, that's kind of fucked up. And so we did it. We said we're going to make a movie for our people. And we did, and they didn't give a shit. They're like, no, we're fine with the people, white people, with the movies white people make, so we're fine. And so it didn't. It did fine. It didn't do great. It got a lot of good critical buzz, but at the end of the day, it didn't make any money. No one really came to see it, and we were like, yeah, fuck this. Let's go making back to movies for everybody. So so
And but no, because you done the opener and the closer, didn't you?
yeah, all the interstitial stuff, anything with the
Yes.
traveler. Yeah, but the
Yeah, and
opening,
it is got a again great cast. Um,
yeah,
Greg
yeah,
Back from Big Ass Spider.
right, and Efren Ramirez from Napoleon Dynamite, who was great. You know, it was
Yeah,
really, you know, and then also in some of the other chapters, you know, we have Jonah Ray and you know, anyway, there's you know lots of good fun people in that movie, and I'm very happy with it. I like the film overall. I think it's a lot of fun. Is it, you know, anthologies are you know, vary, you know, for whoever's watching it. You know, oh, I like two of these, I like all but one, whatever. But I kind of think, at least for me, I think they're all fairly decent. Of course, I like some more than others, but you know, but overall, I think everybody did a really good job, and I like the movie. So, you know, again, hoping that there was a Satanic Hispanics too, but I was told fairly early on there will not be.
I must admit, I do love an anthology film being brought up on the Amicus stuff as
Right.
a kid. So you
I don't
know,
have one. I don't have one in the works now. So for better or worse, you know, as I mentioned, my new movie is a documentary, but I treat it as seriously as any of the other films that I've made, and I really, you know, I don't even count Masters of Horror as one of my films, but I definitely count
no.
this. You know, it will be, and then I hope, because it's been a minute here. I don't have any wood to knock on metal and knock on glass. There's some wood. There we go. I hope that I will be returning to do a feature myself and not an anthology, because Don't Kill It was the last. I mean, again, the documentary is a feature too, but a
Yeah,
horror feature like I used to do, you know, like The Convent and like, you know, Big Ass Spider. I'm hoping after this documentary is done, I will return to that. Then maybe we can talk about anthologies and shit down, you know, 2 3 years from now. But for right now, I am missing my own movie, and I would like very much to go back to it, even though this is my own movie as well. This one's very personal and very
yeah.
very hands on.
Well,
You know,
I must admit, I'm looking forward to seeing your film about Bruce Dern because he's a fantastic actor and he's caused a few bits of trouble over the years. I know that from what I've read.
right.
Big friend of Roger Corman as well.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to find out about a lot of, you know, people that we all love: Roger Corman, Alfred Hitchcock, you know, Quentin Tarantino. You know, there's going to be who's in the documentary as well. You know, we're gonna spend a lot of time not only on Bruce's life but on the amazing filmmakers that he's worked with, and
Yeah,
we have a feeling of what it was like to be on set with those people. You know,
absolutely fantastic. Well, I think we've covered everything, and I hope you've enjoyed chatting. Oh, we've got to talk about collecting before we go.
sure. Okay, I'll take a couple
We're
minutes for
both
collect.
collectors. So what's the latest piece you've picked up? You mentioned the Howling figure.
I don't have it in front of me, but yes, the Howling figure is the
Is
latest
that
thing.
the Necker one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Lately, I don't know why I've been into. I'm not necessarily. It's not my biggest thing, but I got into the Street Fighter figures. You know, because they made a whole set, and I was like, that makes sense to like get like the 8 Street Fighters or whatever. You know, so lately that was, I think, the last set I got, and I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I'm always picking up stuff, but it's always like a random figure. But the last thing I was very excited about has been the Howling, you know, but also the American Werewolf stuff that NECA's been making. It's
Yes.
mainly NECA and Hot Toys that I collect these days. But over time I've collected everything, and that's the problem, is that you can go on forever. And so I've kind of tried to stop on like Marvel Legends and Star Wars and things like that. That doesn't quite interest me as much. But then I say that, and I'm like, I gotta get the Fantastic Four. So I got the Fantastic Four.
Which was great fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the
Yeah,
Fantastic Four film.
I got James Superman. I try to keep it current as well. But mainly it's main. Oh, yeah, that's the last thing I got, and I wish it's upstairs. Where sadly all my horror stuff is more upstairs than it is down here. This is more the sci-fi room. But I got the monkey. So.
Oh, very good.
Movie The Monkey. So I wish it was an exact replica, but it's pretty close. It's from the three-dimensional models,
Right.
from it. So it's sculpted from the same stuff. They did it, but they have real fur and they have,
Yeah.
silicone or whatever. Mine is just one piece of vinyl, and whatever. But still cool, love the horror shit. So happy that all that exists. And again, I was just happy that I couldn't believe that, my two favorite movies when I was like 8 were American Werewolf in London and Howling, and it's only taken, 40 some years, but 43 years, but here I was with my Howling and American Werewolves for the first time in my life, and I'm like, life sucks in a lot of ways, but there are good things about it.
Exactly.
So.
The last things I picked up was I picked up the 18-inch Mezco Godzilla.
Okay.
Which is, I think it's based on Godzilla 84 or the Return of Godzilla.
Sounds good.
And it's massive, lights up and all that kind of thing. I haven't told the wife how much it cost. And the NECA Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee Dracula.
Yeah, got
picked
those.
them up. Which they're stunning.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't opened them because I don't have the space. That's the problem, is that everything I get these days just kind of goes immediately into storage. So very very few things get the get shelf space, because shelf space is limited around these parts. So
Yes, I'm the same. But
keep on the collecting. I love it. So that's great.
Yes, well, we'll call that an evening or afternoon for yourself.
All right, wonderful evening.
And stick around after I do the sign out, and I'll have a quick word with you.
Okay, cool.
So, thank you very much, Mike, for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Likewise, thanks for having me. It was fun.
No, thank you. So it's good night from me. Good night from Mike. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.